Okay, good evening. So our presenter for tonight is Raymark Amante, and he's going to present this topic about drug abuse and connection to our society, education and prevention and control. So, Raymark, you may proceed.
Okay, so good evening, ladies and gentlemen, my classmates. It is a pleasure and it is with a great opportunity to speak to you tonight and to discuss about the drug abuse, particularly the education, prevention, and control. So, again, I am Raymark Villasor Amante under Social Studies, Bachelor of Secondary Education. So for today's discussion, I'm going to discuss the definition of drugs, what is drug abuse, the causes, the other examples of drugs, and how can we prevent this drug abuse particularly. So as before I continue to the presentation, let me give you a message from Mango Woodstack, which he said that addiction brings apathy. Break the apathy and you break the addiction. Apathy means lack of interest, enthusiasm or concern, or ibig sabihin sa Tagalog is kawalang gana, kawalang pakialam kumbaga. So ang addiction daw is nagdadala siya nun. So once we are get addicted to something, hindi lang naman particular ang droga, nagkakaroon na tayo ng kawalang gana sa ibang bagay. So break the apathy and you break the addiction. So let me start this discussion by giving you the definition of drugs. So a drug is any substance that causes a change in an organism's physiology and psychology when consumed. Drugs are typically distinguished from food and substances that provide nutritional support. Consumption of drugs can be via inhalation, injection, smoking, ingestion, absorption via a patch or on skin or yung turok, or dissolution under the tongue. So yung mindset natin na when we talk about drugs, illegal na agad siya. Actually, I do not believe na I'm pretty sure that all of us here already take or took drugs. So nakapag-take na tayo ng drugs, maniwala kayo sa akin at hindi. So depende na lang kung illegal na droga ang pag-uusapan. Ayun. So ayun. And let's proceed with drug abuse and addiction. So what is drug abuse and addiction? So according to National Institute of Drug Abuse, drug addiction is a chronic disease characterized by drug seeking and use that is compulsive or difficult to control despite harmful consequences. So brain changes that occurs over time with drug use challenge an addicted person's self-control and interfere with their ability to resist intense urges to take drugs. So nagkakaroon na ng battle inside yung tao na nagsasuffer ng drug abuse and addiction. So at this one, a person continues to, hindi ko makita. Ano po? Ay, sorry. A person, hindi ko makita yung slide ko. A person continues to adopt. Ay, sorry.
Yeah, malinaw naman.
Ako po yung hindi makakita ng slide ko. Ay, shush.
Sa palaki mo. I-minimize mo ng konti. Yan. Meron pa ba sa taas?
Ayan. As a person continues to use drugs, the brain adapts by reducing the ability of cells in the reward circuit to respond to it. This reduces the high that a person feels compared to the high they felt when they first taking the drug. An effect known as tolerance. So tolerance. They might take more of the drug to try and achieve the same high. These brain adaptations often lead to the person becoming less and less able to derive pleasure from other things that they once enjoyed, like food, sex, or social activities. So nagkakaroon na ng tolerance or yung pagiging immune dun sa bagay niyo. Long-term use also causes changes in other brain chemical systems and circuits as well, affecting functions that include learning, judgment, decision-making, stress, memory, and behavior. Other side effects of drug addiction may include, so ito na po, isa-isahin ko sa inyo itong mga addiction na ito. Side effects ng drug addiction, a weakened immune system, increasing the risk of illness and infection. So we already talk about that. Too much exposure sa mga drugs is nagli-lead talaga siya sa hindi sapat na bilang na dapat ini-intake ng isang individual, is nagkakaroon na ng battle dun sa tinitake niyang drugs. Kaya nagkakaroon ng risk sa immune system kasi nga hindi na akma yung natitake niya na drugs dun sa dapat na itake ng drugs. Next is heart conditions, ranging from abnormal heart rates and heart attacks and collapsed veins and blood vessel infections from injected drugs. Most commonly, ito yung mga tinuturo. Nausea and abdominal pain, which can also lead to changes in appetite or weight loss or yung pagpayat. Increased strain on the liver, which puts the person at risk of significant liver damage. Seizures, stroke, and mental confusion. And brain damage. Lung disease, different types of lung disease, problems with memory, attention, and decision-making, which make daily living more difficult kapag naghihirapan na tayong makapag-decide, madali na tayong makalimot. It is because of the too much addiction sa drugs at sobrang paggamit natin ng drugs na yun. And lastly, the global effects of drugs on the body, such as breast development in men and increases in body temperature, which can lead to other health problems pa. Yeah. So at this juncture, I will go into discuss the root cause, the primary root cause of drug abuse. So I will be giving you 4 main root cause of drug abuse tonight. So the first one is genetics as a cause of drug abuse. So many people use drugs, only a small percentage abuse drugs. But it has been noted as drug abuse often runs in families, suggesting genetics is one of the causes of drug abuse. While having parents that abuse drugs put a child at risk. So not to discriminate, but most of the poor people na ang siyang madalas na nadadala doon sa bagay na ito yung sobrang sabihin na nating nalululong. Ayun, that is the word, nalululong sa masamang bisyo, yung mga pamilya, yung mga magulang, at nadadama yung kanilang mga anak. It is possible for a child to grow up without drug abuse with that drug abuse problems. Next is ayan, na-late yung title. Environmental causes of drug abuse. There are certain life circumstances, particularly among younger users, that are risk factors for, rather than direct cause of drug abuse. Parental abuse and neglect are commonly seen as part of the causes of drug abuse. While having parents that uh, an adolescent rather, or adolescents or pre-adolescent may be trying to gain attention from an inattentive parent or yung escape natin dun sa mga abusive parents, ito yung nagiging resulta dahil sa paligid na rin natin, maybe sa family, dala ng barkada and other things. Ito yung resulta niya, yung base sa kung ano yung nakapaligid naman sa atin. Kung kanina pamilya, this is the second one, yung nasa paligid or yung society na ginagalawan natin. Prolonged attempts through drug abuse can be a cause of drug abuse too. Next is the third one, co-occurring conditions as drug abuse causes. So drug abuse often occurs alongside other conditions like mental illness, while mental illness itself is not thought to cause drug abuse. O yun, clear. One condition may indicate and may be complicated by the other. One of the causes of drug abuse may be the attempt to manage the symptoms of an underlying mental illness. Nagsa-self-medicate na yung mga like for example, I'm going to give an example. Kunwari ako, meron akong nag-self-proclaim ako na ako ay depressed, so I'm going to take this medicine without the prescription of the doctor. So it is already considered as that. So next po is this one. The common abuse drugs. So I'm going to give you 6 common abuse drugs, but before that, let me give you a data about the Philippines. 2 of the most used and valuable illegal drugs in the country are methamphetamine hydrochloride. Methamphetamine hydrochloride, or locally known as shabu. Madalas natin yung naririnig sa balita, shabu and marijuana. So, ayan. Marijuana abuse, alcohol abuse, cocaine, Valium, heroin, and prescription drug abuse. So even pala yung mga prescripted na mga gamot is pwede pa rin pala siyang maging cause ng drug abuse. So isa-isahin natin siya. Let us begin with marijuana. Ay, sorry, nasabi ko pala. Marijuana. I believe lahat naman po tayo rito ay nasa about age na, so I am authorized to give you the picture, the image for us to easily identify what I'm talking about. So marijuana. Marijuana abuse, though illegal to use or have possession of, illegal po siya. Wala pa pong batas sa Pilipinas na nag-approve sa marijuana para sa legal na bagay o legal na paggamit. Marijuana is a commonly abused drugs and many people are unaware of its harmful effects. Marijuana abuse can lead to distorted perceptions, impaired condition, as well as difficulty with thinking, problem solving, learning, and with the memory. So, yun po ang resulta ng marijuana abuse. So, ayan. Emperador. Alcohol abuse. Alcohol abuse, though legal to use, legal naman po ito, legal ang mga alak sa Pilipinas, maliban sa mga menor de edad. Obtain and possess alcohol is another commonly abused drugs with the potential for serious consequences. Kaya madalas po nakikita natin sa mga TV advertisements, doon sa last part nila, nagsasabi sila doon ng drink moderately because it has It has a big consequences if we are going to drink it irresponsibly. Alcohol abuse manifests as drinking becomes increasingly important and takes priority over everything else of importance. So, sobra o yung irresponsible nga na paggamit o pag-inom, pag-take nito, including job, friends and family, nauuna na ang alak kesa sa pamilya at sa trabaho, sa mga kaibigan. It presents a danger to oneself and others as alcohol abuse increases. So ayan. Para lang siyang tawas, no? If you're familiar with that. So cocaine abuse. Cocaine is an illicit or illegal, commonly abused drugs. I remember someone. Cocaine abuse can lead to addiction, severe health problems, and death. Many cocaine abusers report to be trapped in a vicious cycle of increased cocaine abuse in failed attempts to recreate the pleasurable sensation of their first exposure to cocaine. Due to the intense cravings and high relapse rate associated with cocaine addiction, recovery in a supportive environment centers provide the recovering addict much more support than private or outpatient therapy. Next is this one. So Valium abuse. So by the way, Valium or in other term is diazepam is used to treat anxiety or alcohol withdrawal and seizures. So it is although it is prescribed dapat ng doktor, meron pa rin pong mga nagtitake nito without the consent or the prescription of the doctor. Valium is commonly abused drug that requires a doctor's prescription, kagaya na sinabi ko, to legally obtain and use. Valium abuse, if continued over a long period of time, will lead to tolerance of the drug. With this occurs, larger doses of Valium will be needed in order to produce the same effects. Additionally, Valium abuse can lead to physical dependence. Masyado nang nagde-depend doon, which means that withdrawal will occur when Valium abuse is reduced and stopped suddenly, and it can be very dangerous po. Next is heroin. Heroin abuse. Heroin is illegal, commonly abused drugs, which is extremely harmful to the user and society as well. Heroin abuse often leads to heroin addiction, which is one of the hardest drug addictions to beat. Heroin is one of the worst drug addictions and one of the hardest to break, causing the most damage both physically and mentally. Yeah. And last one is the prescribed or prescription drug abuse. Prescription drug abuse can refer to intentional misuse or sinadyang paggamit ng isang gamot na isinulat ng isang doktor. Ibig sabihin is nagtitake na tayo ng hindi sa lampas dun sa isinulat or sobra or kulang sa isinulat ng doktor natin. Because of certain prescription drugs induce a state of euphoria in addition to relieving pain. They are popular street drugs for intentional prescription drug abuse. So prevention, tips and control for drug abuse. So we already discussed the types. The definition first, the definition of drug abuse and drug addiction, and I already cited some of the some of the examples of drug abuse, and now I will be going to give you the prevention naman of how we are going to control and how are we going to prevent abuse in drugs. So the first one is find effective ways to handle peer pressure. So as young people, as bilang mga kabataan, karamihan sa atin dito, talagang meron tayong mga barkada na sabihin natin masamang-sama. Nasa sa atin na po yan. Human beings have a habit of not wanting to be left out or yung ayaw nating magpaiwan, and especially by their friends and peers. For this reason, you will find out most teens and some adults start abusing drugs as a way to fit with the other friends. So nagkakaroon na tayo ng pakiki-join sa kanila kasi ayaw nating ma-left behind. Kaya magjo-join na lang din tayo sa kung ano yung ginagawa nila, even if it is bad, it is already addiction, and it is already abuse of drugs. Second is find better coping mechanisms. So a good number of people who abuse drugs to do as a coping mechanism to the negative things they're facing in life. It is important to note that there is nothing wrong with experiencing negative emotions. Negative emotions instead of turning drugs for solace. Find a better ways of dealing with them. Some effective coping mechanisms include talking to someone, meditation, yoga or exercise, writing it down, magsulat ka, and mag-exercise. Trying any of these mechanisms takes your mind off drugs. Malayo sa droga. Ang ibig pong sabihin dito is i-focus natin yung ibang oras natin sa ibang bagay na mas makakatulong sa ating physical and mental health. Third one is find effective ways to handle. Ang typo po yan, na-kopya ko pala. The third one is, choose your circle of friends carefully. Ayan. Number 3, choose your circle of friends carefully. Making friendships plays a major role in your overall health and well-being. However, you need to choose very well your friends wisely. Socializing with them the wrong route can